Hey everyone, and welcome back to ReviewCast. Today we're diving into something that's been blowing up online.
Yeah, it's
The Genius Wave.
the Genius Wave. Heard of it?
Oh yeah, I've been seeing it everywhere. It's this audio program that claims it can unlock your mental potential, boost your creativity,
Right.
even help you attract wealth.
Yeah, some pretty wild claims out there.
Yeah, so naturally there's some people calling it a scam,
Oh, for sure.
but then you have others who are saying it's totally life-changing. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been going through tons of YouTube reviews, articles,
Oh.
even the program's own website, just to get to the bottom of this.
Wow, that's dedication.
Well, someone's got to do it, right? So
Yeah,
we're going to break it all down for you in this deep dive.
sounds good.
So you can decide for yourself if the Genius Wave is the real deal or just clever marketing. So from what I'm gathering, the Genius Wave is a 7-minute audio program.
Okay.
And they use this technique called brainwave entrainment
Yeah, I've heard of that.
to activate, get this, the theta brainwave.
Oh, interesting.
And they're leaning hard into the whole neuroscience thing.
As they do.
It's all backed by science, they
Yeah,
say.
right.
But before we get too far, can you give us a quick rundown on what theta waves actually are?
Sure. So theta waves are basically brain waves
Yeah.
that are associated with very relaxed state. You know, like when you're meditating
Right.
or right before you fall asleep.
Ah, okay.
And studies have linked them to things like enhanced creativity, better learning, even heightened intuition.
Wait, so you're telling me
Yeah.
that those moments when you're drifting off
Exactly.
and suddenly you have this amazing idea,
Uh-huh.
that's theta waves at work.
Could be. That's when your brain is in that kind of free-flowing, less inhibited state.
Okay, that's fascinating. Now, a lot of these reviews I've been reading mention that theta waves are way more dominant in children,
That's true.
and then they kind of fade as we get older. Remember when we were kids and learning felt so effortless?
Oh, absolutely. It was like soaking it all up like a sponge.
Yeah. And now it's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you think
Well,
that's connected to these theta waves?
it's definitely possible. I mean, infants and young children, their brainwave patterns are different.
Right.
And they
Right.
exhibit more theta wave activity,
Interesting.
which could explain why they're able to learn so quickly and effortlessly.
So the Genius Wave is saying they can basically reactivate that childlike state
Well, that's the claim.
of learning and creativity
Yeah.
with their program.
Exactly. They're tapping into that.
I mean, it's a pretty bold claim.
It is.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about these benefits they're touting, because
Yep.
it's a pretty long list. We're talking improved focus, better problem-solving skills, reduced stress, enhanced creativity.
Yeah, they're not holding back.
Oh, and of course, attracting wealth and success.
Right.
I even saw some reviews claiming things like finding love, landing dream jobs. So they're saying the Genius Waves can manifest your wildest dreams.
Well, it definitely sounds appealing, doesn't it?
It does. But is any of this actually possible?
It's important to remember that correlation doesn't equal causation.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, just because some studies show a connection between theta waves and certain benefits, it doesn't mean that listening to an audio program will automatically make those things happen.
So just because someone listens to the Genius Wave and then they get a promotion doesn't mean the program cost it.
Exactly. There could be a whole bunch of other factors at play.
Okay, so we can't just take these glowing testimonials at face value.
Right. And while the idea of attracting wealth through sound waves sounds cool,
It does.
we really need to be skeptical about these kinds of claims.
Right, and I'm noticing that a lot of these reviews, especially the ones with the really over-the-top claims,
Yeah.
they have affiliate links, meaning the person gets paid
Oh.
if you click their link and buy the program. So there's definitely an incentive for them to hype it up.
That's a good point. You always got to consider the source and their motivations.
Right. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper into the science here. They keep mentioning this brainwave entrainment thing. What is that exactly? Is it like magic or something?
Not magic, but it is pretty fascinating. Basically, the idea is that when you expose your brain to specific sound frequencies, you can actually influence its electrical activity.
So it's like you're kind of retuning your brain with sound.
Yeah, you can think of it like that.
Okay, and the Genius Wave is using this to shift people's brainwaves into this theta state.
So that's their claim. They use a combination of binaural beats,
Right, I've heard of those.
which is where you play slightly different frequencies in each ear,
Okay.
and isochronic tones, which are these pulsing rhythmic tones. And both of these techniques have been studied for their potential to influence brain activity.
So there is some scientific basis for this whole brainwave entrainment thing.
There is. It's not just made up.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole thing about a NASA study
Oh, yeah.
that they keep mentioning in their marketing.
Right, like it's some kind of endorsement.
Exactly. Like NASA approves, so it must be legit, right? What's the deal with that study?
Well, I actually tracked it down, and yes, it's a real document from NASA.
Okay.
But here's the catch. It's from 1994.
1994. That's like ancient history in the world of science.
Pretty much. And while the study does touch on brainwave research,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't specifically endorse the genius wave or even mention anything close to their program.
So they're basically name-dropping NASA to make their product sound more credible.
It seems that way. It's a common marketing tactic, unfortunately.
Right, using something reputable to lend credibility, even if the connection is flimsy at best.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got some interesting science here, some bold claims, and a healthy dose of skepticism. But before we go full skeptic on this, I want to hear about what people are actually saying about their experiences.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Because we've got this mountain of YouTube reviews.
Right.
And they're all over the place. Some people are saying it's a miracle. Others are calling it a total scam.
Very mixed bag.
Yeah, so how do we even begin to make sense of all these different experiences?
That's the challenge, isn't it? It really is a challenge. I mean, personal experiences can vary so much.
Yeah, they really can. Like, I'm seeing everything from claims that it cured writer's block to people saying it helped them nail a job interview.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are those who are like, I tried it for weeks and nothing happened.
Right, and that's the thing with brainwave entrainment, you know? It's not like a one-size-fits-all thing.
Yeah, like a magic pill.
Exactly, it's not a magic pill.
And take it and boom, you're a genius.
Yeah. Just like with medication or therapy, what works for one person
Right.
might not work for another.
Because we're all different.
We all have different brain chemistry, different life experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. But are there any common threads, like, among the people who are seeing benefits?
There are some interesting patterns, yeah. A lot of the positive reviews talk about feeling more focused and alert after listening to the Genius Wave.
So like a mental energy boost kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like that. Remember how we were talking about theta waves being associated with deep relaxation?
Yeah.
Well, some researchers think that by inducing that relaxed state, you're actually creating a better environment for focus and concentration in the brain.
Okay, so it's like quieting the noise so you can actually think straight.
Exactly. It's like decluttering your mental workspace.
Right, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, what about creativity? Because a lot of reviews mentioned feeling more inspired and coming up with new ideas.
Ah, yes.
Creativity. After using the Genius Wave, how does that fit into the whole theta wave thing?
That's where it gets even more interesting, I think, because remember how we said theta waves are more prominent in children? And children, they're naturally so creative.
Oh, absolutely. No limits on their imagination.
Right. They're constantly exploring, experimenting, coming up with new ideas.
Yeah.
Without all the self-judgment that we adults tend to have.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So the Genius Wave is claiming that by tapping into that theta state, you can access that childlike creativity again.
That's the idea. And there's some research to back that up.
Really?
Yeah. Studies have shown that inducing alpha brainwaves,
Okay.
which are also linked to relaxation and that kind of receptive mental state, can actually boost creativity and problem-solving skills.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm starting to see how all of this connects. But let's be real for a second. Some of these claims are pretty out there, like attracting wealth and finding love through sound waves. Come on.
Yeah, that's where I have to raise an eyebrow.
It sounds a little too good to be true, right?
Right, it does. And there's really no scientific evidence to support that brainwave entrainment can directly make you win the lottery or find your soulmate.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm also wondering, maybe there's something to the power of belief.
Oh, interesting.
Like, if you listen to the Genius Wave and you truly believe it's going to bring you abundance and love, maybe that shift in your mindset actually makes those things happen.
You know, that's a really interesting point. Because our beliefs and expectations can have a huge impact on our actions.
Right.
And ultimately, our outcomes. So if listening to the Genius Wave makes you feel more confident, more optimistic.
More open to possibilities?
Exactly.
Then maybe that leads to more positive experiences in your life.
It's like you're priming your brain for success in a way.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that the sound waves are magically attracting those things.
Right.
But they're creating a mental and emotional state that's more likely to attract them.
Yeah, it's more about aligning your inner world with your desires.
Right, I can see that.
Yeah.
But we also have to talk about the people who are saying they had negative experiences.
Yes, absolutely. We can't ignore those.
Because some are saying they felt anxious, even had headaches after listening.
Mm.
And then you have others who say they just didn't see any results at all.
And those experiences are just as valid as the
Wow.
positive ones. It's important to remember that this is still a relatively new field.
Brainwave and train.
Yeah, and we still don't fully understand how it works or how it affected different people.
So are there any risks or drawbacks people should be aware of before trying something like this?
Well, like with anything that affects brain activity,
Mm-hmm.
there's always a chance of side effects.
Okay, so it's not like totally risk-free.
Right. Some people report headaches, dizziness, nausea, even anxiety
Wow.
after listening to binaural beats or isochronic tones.
So you definitely want to start slow and pay attention to how you're feeling.
Exactly. Start slowly, listen at a comfortable volume,
Mhm.
and if you feel any discomfort, stop right away.
And maybe talk to your doctor first.
Yes, especially if you have any medical conditions or are taking medication.
Good advice. Now, what about those folks who said they tried it for weeks and nothing happened?
Yeah.
Is there any way to know who will benefit and who won't?
Unfortunately, there's no way to predict that for sure. It seems to depend on a lot of different things.
Like what?
Like your brain chemistry, how sensitive you are to sound frequencies, even your own goals and expectations.
So it's kind of a trial and error thing?
To a certain extent, yes.
Okay. And I guess you have to manage your expectations too. You're not going to become a genius overnight.
Right, exactly. Don't expect miracles. Even if it does work for you, it's probably going to be subtle and gradual.
Yeah. It's a tool, not a magic wand.
A very good way to put it.
So, are there any alternatives to the Genius Wave? Because it's not exactly cheap.
Right.
And we've talked about some concerns with the company.
Absolutely. There are tons of other brainwave entrainment resources out there. Apps, websites, even YouTube channels.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Many of them are free or much cheaper than the Genius Wave.
So you can try those out first before spending any money.
Exactly. And you might find that you prefer certain types of brainwave entrainment over others.
Oh, interesting.
Some people respond better to binaural beats, some to isochronic tones. It's all about finding what works for you.
That's a good point. Okay, so you've got the Genius Wave, you've got these other online resources. But what about other ways to, like, boost your brain power that don't involve technology?
Oh, absolutely. Things like getting enough sleep, regular exercise,
The basic,
eating a healthy diet, practicing mindfulness.
like meditation.
Yeah, meditation, yoga, these are all essential for a healthy mind and body.
And they can be just as effective?
Often even more effective than
Right.
relying on a gadget or a program.
So it's not just about finding the right technology, it's about taking care of yourself overall.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge and making informed choices.
Okay, I think we've done a pretty good job of breaking down the science, the claims, the skepticism,
And it's at it from all angles.
the user experiences. Now, the big question. What does all this mean for our listener who's thinking about trying the Genius Wave?
Right. That's what we're here for.
How do we help them make an informed decision?
Well, I think it starts with encouraging critical thinking,
Oh.
separating the science from the marketing hype,
Hmm.
and being realistic about what to expect.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's a personal decision.
It is. There's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. So what are some things our listeners should be thinking about?
Well, they should weigh the potential benefits against the potential risks. Think about if this program really aligns with their goals and values,
Right.
and be honest with themselves about their expectations.
And maybe ask themselves some deeper questions too, right?
Yeah,
Like, what are they hoping to get out of this?
exactly.
Are there other approaches they could try? Are they comfortable with the risks?
Those are all great questions to consider.
Because even if they decide the Genius Wave isn't for them, this whole exploration might spark their curiosity
Right, exactly.
about their own mind.
It might open up new possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're all about here at ReviewCast, right?
Absolutely. Helping you explore, learn, and discover.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the Genius Wave.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
The science, the marketing, what people are saying.
All the different perspectives.
But now, let's bring it all together and figure out what it means for you, our listener.
Right. Time to make sense of it all.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to decide if the Genius Wave is right for you.
Exactly. We're just here to give you the information you need to make that decision.
So let's start with the science.
Okay.
We know that brainwave entrainment is a real thing.
Yeah, it's not just some made-up concept.
Sound can actually influence our brain activity. That's been proven.
Right. There's scientific evidence to back that up.
But the science gets a little less clear.
Yeah, it gets a little fuzzier.
When we start talking about specific results,
Like, can it really boost your IQ?
exactly. Can it make you rich? Can it help you find love?
Those are the claims that go beyond what the research actually shows.
Right, and that's why it's so important to think critically.
To not just believe everything you hear.
Exactly. Don't just take the marketing at face value.
Especially when it sounds too good to be true.
Right, because let's be honest, a lot of it does sound too good to be true.
It does.
And even if brainwave entrainment does work, it's not an instant fix.
No, it's not like flipping a switch.
It's more like a subtle shift over time.
Think of it like exercise.
Okay.
You wouldn't expect to be super fit after just one workout.
Right.
It takes time and consistency to see results.
And the same goes for brainwave entrainment.
Exactly.
You're not going to become a genius overnight just by listening to a few tracks.
Nope. It's more about gently nudging your brain in a certain direction.
And speaking of mindset, I think that plays a huge role in all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Our beliefs, our expectations
Even our surrounding.
can all affect how we respond to these kinds of tools.
If you go into it thinking, this is going to change my life, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment.
Right. It's important to be realistic about what to expect.
And to remember that there are other ways to achieve those goals.
Like what?
Well, things like mindfulness,
Meditation.
exactly, getting enough sleep,
Eating healthy.
regular exercise. Those are all proven ways to improve your mental and emotional well-being.
Right. So brainwave entrainment is just one tool.
One tool among many.
And it might not be the right tool for everyone.
Exactly.
So let's say you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I'm interested in brainwave entrainment, but I don't know where to start.
Well, the first thing I'd say is do your research.
Don't just take the company's word for it.
Right. Look for independent reviews, read articles from reputable sources.
Remember those YouTube reviews we talked about?
Yeah.
A lot of those have affiliate links, so the person gets paid if you buy the product.
So take those with a grain of salt.
Exactly. Now, if you do decide to try brainwave entrainment, start slowly.
Don't go all in right away.
Listen for shorter periods at first.
And see how you feel.
If you start getting headaches, feeling anxious, or anything like that,
Stop immediately.
yeah, and talk to your doctor.
Especially if you have any health conditions.
Now, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on a program like the Genius Wave.
Right. There are plenty of free and low-cost options available.
Like where?
Well, you can find brainwave entrainment tracks on YouTube, Spotify.
Right.
Yeah, all over the internet.
So you could experiment with those before committing to a paid program.
Exactly. And you might even find that you prefer certain types of brainwave entrainment over others.
Okay, so what are the different types?
Well, there are binaural beats,
Mm-hmm.
isochronic tones,
Oh, yeah.
and other methods as well.
So it's really about finding what works best for you.
That's the key.
And even within a program like the Genius Wave, there are different tracks for different purposes.
Right. Some for focus, some for relaxation, some for creativity.
So you want to choose the ones that align with your goals.
Exactly. And be patient.
Don't expect overnight results.
It takes time for those subtle shifts to happen.
And remember, this is still a relatively new field.
There's a lot we're still learning about brainwave entrainment.
So approach it with an open mind, but also a healthy dose of skepticism.
Don't be afraid to question things and do your own research.
All right, I think we've given you a lot to think about.
We've covered all the bases.
The science, the claims, the risks, the alternatives.
And most importantly, how to make an informed decision.
So now it's up to you, our listener.
What do you think about the Genius Wave?
Is it something you're interested in trying?
Or are you going to explore other options?
Whatever you decide, we're here to support you on your journey of self-discovery.
Keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep those brainwaves flowing.
Until next time.
This has been ReviewCast.